2026 just started, meaning we're smack dab in the middle of January. You all know what that means. The YouTube ad rates are in the dirt. I need help. So now is the perfect time to upload videos that may not be as clickable since I wouldn't be making much off of it anyway. We're talking about Tall Mountain today. This stage in Mario 64 has always been a bit weird for me. It's probably the one I find to be the least notable in the game. Thematically, it's nothing too special, its stars mostly don't stick out in either a good or bad way, so the stage is just kind of there. Welcome to another episode of Level by Level. In this episode, we're gonna get to the bottom of why I find Mario 64's Tall Mountain to be so mid. And I mean actually mid, not bad like how most tweets use the term. Who knows, maybe going through it again for this video, we'll be able to highlight some new stuff in the stage that can give me a greater appreciation for it. Just like every episode on Mario 64, we'll first analyze this level's aesthetic, then move on to the layout, and end with a tier list of all 7 of the stage's stars. And of course, once we've run through all of that, we can figure out where Tall Mountain belongs on the Mario 64 level by level tier list. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's jump right in. Alright, let's kick things off with the stage's aesthetic. Yep, that's one Tall Mountain. So reason number 1 as to why I find the stage kind of mediocre is the theme. Mountains are not only seen across the Mario series, but also several times in this very game. Of course, a common theme isn't always a bad thing. Big Boo's Haunt, for example, is a ghost house which is seen in most of the Mario series. Heck, we even have 2 snow stages in Mario 64 with Cool Mountain and Snowman's Land. So why do I think Tall Mountain in particular is hurt? Well, that's because I really don't feel like it does anything special with the idea. Just by looking at it, this is about exactly what I would expect from a 3D Mario mountain course. Visually, it's different from the other Mario 64 stages because of the rocky color scheme, but look at any mountain course in New Super Mario Bros. And you'll get kinda similar vibes. I do at least like the aesthetic, it's certainly not unpleasant to look at. It's just very generic, which obviously plays into the idea of this course being pretty mid. If I were to highlight some elements of the aesthetic, I'd first have to say that I've always loved the Mario series' famous mushroom platforms. The bright red adds quite a bit to the aesthetic when mixed with the gray and orange mountain, but again, I have to point out that I said that these are quite common in the Mario series. Yes, Tall Mountain is the only place in Mario 64 with these mushrooms, but the series has been using them since literally the very first game. But again, even though it is generic, I do still find the aesthetic pleasant. I don't think the stage looks ugly at all. Okay, except maybe this specific texture. But overall, the stage looks fine. With that being said, since I don't have a negative thought on how the stage looks, that definitely contributes to me finding the stage kinda forgettable. It's not a fantastic spin on a classic idea, it's not an entirely new concept for the series, and it's not a bad take on an idea either. It's just exactly how I would predict a stage like this to be implemented in the first 3D Mario game. And to add even more to this lack of notability, this stage shares a song with Bob-omb Battlefield. Tall Mountain never had a chance of being associated with this song because both the first and second stage of the game use it, plus Tiny Huge Island. So the most that I can really say is that this is a solid adaptation of a Mario Mountain for the 3D space. But moving past that, we can now talk about the stage's layout. Yep, that's one Tall Mountain. This may be one of the easiest stages to talk about layout-wise in the entire Mario 64 level by level series. In many of the courses we've looked at, I talk about how they usually have a main path through the course with areas built off of that path for the various stars. Bob-omb Battlefield is a very clear example, as it has that path running from where we spawn to the top of the mountain. Then we have areas off to the side of that path like the red coins, floating island, and terrifying chain chomp. Tall Mountain, on the other hand, is pretty much just the main path to the top. Instead of having an area to run around off the mountain, we spend the entire stage climbing up it. To me, that does make perfect sense. I mean, what else are you gonna do on a mountain besides climb it? In turn, though, that does make this one of the most linear stages in the game. Yes, there are technically small areas that branch off the main path, but they're very tiny and most of the time don't have much to do. Now, being linear isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, 3D World is a great game, and that's built entirely on 3D linear levels. In theory, I would agree with that, but in practice, this does lead to some severe issues due to how Mario 64 in particular works. We'll get more into that in the star section though. I do still have a bit more I want to add to the layout section. While I would still say this course is very linear, I do at least appreciate the fact that there are a decent amount of choices for how you get up to the top. While pretty much every path leads to the same destination, just having multiple paths does make multiple playthroughs a bit less tedious. And that's very important here. For some quick examples of alternate routes, this area with the Monty Moles can let Mario climb up it a bit faster faster using parkour, you can avoid the rolling balls by going down the skinnier path off to the side, and you can even skip a large portion of the beginning by riding up some hidden wind. Heck, even obstacles like the rolling log have multiple ways to go about clearing them, as you can ride it normally, long jump off of it, or even use the fly guy. These multiple routes are certainly appreciated, though in the end, they all just work as different ways to get to the top. It's all decently fun to climb, but again, climbing up to the top of something is far from a special trait to Tall Mountain. I mean, there are even plenty of linear 2D Mario levels that also have multiple routes to reach the top of their stage. This layout all certainly works to feel like a mountain, just not a very special one. But now it's time to look at all 7 of this stage's stars and rank them from the worst to the best. The more creative and fun a star is to complete, the higher it goes on the list. Compared to a lot of other 64 levels we have talked about though, this is a really weird tier list to put together. That will become clear as we go down the list, but starting off we have star number 1, Scale the Mountain. Yep, we gotta scale Tall Mountain. This is just about the most obvious star ever for a mountain stage, but climbing up things is pretty fun. Since we find the star at the very top of this level, this essentially brings us through the whole stage to get us familiar with it. When we begin, we first have to battle some Goombas next to a water stream. Very intense stuff, I know. To continue climbing up, we got 2 jumps to get past, which are meant to show off the long jump to the player. Tall Mountain is the 12th stage of 15 in this game, so the player should probably know how to do that by now, but I guess it's nice to just make sure. If you fail the first jump, there is a small area to catch you where you can grab a few coins and even a box. That just goes well with the long jump tutorial angle, as it gives the player a safety net to try it out. But if you thought that was too safe, just wait until you see what happens when you fail the second jump. You die. Getting past them brings us to an area full of mushrooms. If you want, you can jump across them to get to the other side, but since we're getting the first star and not the red coins, just go around it like a normal person. Surviving that will bring us face to face with our next set of enemies, an army of Monty Moles. These guys are a bit more unique than the Goombas we saw before. Not exclusive to this stage, they do show up in Hazy Maze Cave as well, but they're still rare enough to make their inclusion slightly interesting. Unlike in most other Mario games, the Monty Moles here will kill Mario by throwing stones at him. Outside of just the enemies, this is also our first real alternate path choice. We can either continue straight forward or climb up the wall for a bit of a shortcut. I usually just stay on flat ground because it's easier and the wall climb is required for a later star, but again, having multiple options is nice. If you stick to the bottom like a dumb baby loser, you'll have to run past a set of Bob-ombs and a Chuckya. For the bombs, it's pretty easy to just hold forward, but the inclusion of Chuckya is pretty fitting. His whole goal is to throw Mario off edges, so in a vertical stage like Tall Mountain, that can certainly cause some setbacks. I do wish the area with Chuckya wasn't so open though. It makes it a bit too easy to avoid him, but I do still appreciate him being here. Crossing over the skinny plank of wood brings us over to a monkey, whose sole purpose in life is to rage bait and steal from Mario. If you decide to grab him, he'll take your hat off, which makes Mario take extra damage. So then you'll have to waste time trying to get it back, which can be somewhat tricky. As an obstacle, this guy is extremely easy to avoid because obviously all you have to do is just not get rage baited, but the monkey does add a lot of character to the stage, which Tall Mountain desperately needed. Successfully ignoring the monkey lets Mario cross this next area, and like I said before, there are many options on how to do it. I personally find jumping on the Shy Guy to be easiest, but the rolling log is there if you want. Speaking of rolling, several large balls will start rolling down the mountain towards us here, so it's important to take this next part carefully. Or you could just take the side path, which basically has no downsides due to being easier. I don't really get the point of the rolling ball section then, but whatever. When the paths recombine, it's time to test Mario out on what he's learned. There is a big gap between where we are now and the other side, which means Mario has to long jump across it just like he did at the start of the stage. That is a pretty cute full circle moment, even if it is pretty easy. From there, the next main area of note is the small pit with Goombas inside. Be cautious going in here though, because the ugly texture I mentioned before makes Mario jump way lower than normal. But if you manage to get out of that pit and cross the super skinny bridge to the tip of the mountain, you'll find a star waiting to grab. Overall, this acts as a pretty strong introduction to the stage, letting us see most of the layout and giving us multiple different options for how we want to climb up. There's also some decent challenge with a lot of the jumps, so overall, I think this would deserve to place in A tier. Wait, why is it in B tier? Well, this is where the design philosophy of Tall Mountain kind of cracks a bit. While that first star was a strong one in isolation, each main level in Mario 64 contains 7 total stars with no variation. As you can see, we basically just climbed through the whole stage, so how did they fill up the rest of the star list? By making us pretty much do the exact same thing multiple times. 3 of the stage's 7 stars are all located at the top of the mountain, and since Mario 64 kicks you out of the level after collecting each one, a majority of the stage's stars are just pure filler. Let's take a closer look so you guys can better understand what I mean. Star number 2, Mystery of the Monkey Cage. This does not have anything to do with the rage bait monkey we mentioned before. Instead, there is now a different one found on the same platform that the first star was located on. So basically, you have to do the exact same star again, but once you get up to the top, you have to chase a monkey around. It can be somewhat hard to catch, especially if you suck. But once you catch him, you have the option to let him go, where he will then lead you, very slowly, to a cage with a star. He'll break it open, and then the star is complete. So like I said, there is a lot of filler here, as it's basically the same thing, but with a slight monkey twist. That does make me like this star better than the first, but since there's really no reason for both to exist, it drags them both down into the B tier. Luckily, our next mission is star number 3, Scary Shrooms, Red Coins. This one thankfully does not require us to climb to the top of the mountain and actually poses a decently unique challenge. Every level in Mario 64 has a red coin star where you have to collect 8 total red coins hidden in the stage to unlock it. Usually Mario 64 stages either have the coins spread across the entire level or concentrated into one spot, but I like Tall Mountains because the coins are instead concentrated in 2 spots. The first set of 4 are found on the precarious mushroom platforms, which can be quite scary to jump across due to their weird shape and varying sizes. It's not too bad if you're patient, but I can definitely see this giving some people a bit of trouble. The other set of 4 coins are found on the optional wall climbing path of the Monty Moles. The platforms here are placed in really strange ways, which I think makes it more fun to climb. Fitting with the mountain theme, it really feels like you have to find your own route up by grabbing onto whatever natural terrain there is, rather than there being a clearly created path. It's pretty fun to use a wide variety of back and side flips to climb up this. Once Mario reaches the top and collects the final coin, the red coin star will spawn on a mushroom down below. It's not too hard to reach, but can be a little scary as it is hovering over the void. Thankfully, I think the star is an actual A tier this time. Its content is pretty unique to just this mission, and doesn't require us to climb all the way up to the top of the mountain again. The mushrooms act as a good set piece too, so overall, it's an actual solid mission. Star number 4, Mysterious Mountainside. Okay, so this star requires you to climb most of the mountain, but luckily it's not located at the very top. It's just almost there. After the big long jump near the summit, you'll be met face to face with this Floosh, who pretty much only ever appears right here across the entire Mario series. And I have literally never seen a single soul get hit by this guy. So I decided to be brave and see what would happen if I stood near it. The result may shock you. I have genuinely never seen that cutscene before because you have to stand near him for so long for it to happen. You can get your cat back from the monkey, but I highly doubt you'd ever have to worry about that since it's super easy to just run past the Floosh. I bring him up now because the star's entrance is located nearby, though it is pretty difficult to spot. The title Mysterious Mountainside does act as a small clue, but since the entire stage is a mountain, there's a lot of mountainsides to check. Luckily, there is a bit of a strange square indent near this line of coins, and rubbing up against it reveals the painting effect on this wall. I think that's pretty cute, and sure some people could struggle to find it, but having more secret stars like this is pretty cool. Especially because jumping into the wall doesn't just give you the star, but instead puts you at the top of a slide. I have completely ignored this area of the stage up until this point, but it is really neat. It's totally different from the rest of the level aesthetically, and it's honestly quite cool. Gameplay wise, this is far from the only slide in the game, but this does get props for being easily the hardest. There are a lot of points with some tricky jumps and very skinny pathways to take. My favorite part though is this super sharp right turn that can be very difficult to go down. I also like how if you miss the turn somehow, despite the billion arrow signs, it leads you down a path with a skull on it. I know this skull is meant to represent how this path kills you, but Mario stupidly ignoring the correct path also fits perfectly with how people use the skull emoji, which I think makes this extra funny. Don't worry if you die though, since this is an extra area, dying inside will let you respawn at the start of the slide. If that wasn't the case, this star would definitely be a whole lot more annoying due to forcing another entire mountain climb to try again. But overall, going down the slide is just really fun. I also personally like doing the C-up slide at the start as it gives you a lot of speed. It'll most likely get you killed, but seeing Mario zip through the slide is quite funny. Once Mario reaches the bottom of the slide, you can exit out and grab the star. Honestly, in total isolation, this star may have been an S tier. However, I don't think I can justify that sadly because there are some notable flaws with it. About half of the star is the very repetitive mountain climb, but that's if you do it the normal way. If you noticed, we actually collect the star inside this open cage. That's located right next to the gust of wind near the start, and since there isn't really a wall, you can kind of just jump in there and completely skip the slide. Normally I'm a fan of speedrun techniques, but this feels like a bit too much is being skipped for how easy the jump is. I would have personally just put the star in the slide, or have it work like the slide star in Cool Cool Mountain where it only spawns once you exit the area. Overall, I still definitely like the star, especially because of how unique the area is compared to the rest of the stage, but I think I can only put it in A tier due to the problems I've listed. Star number 5, breathtaking view from the bridge. Here we have the third star that's basically just at the top of the mountain. This time it's hiding behind the waterfall, which is a cute spot to put it, but also pretty obvious and doesn't make up for having to do the climb again. The best part about this star is the fact that it can be somewhat challenging to get inside of this area. There is a switch you can hit to spawn a block, but that only helps extend the landing area a little bit. I personally like trying to double jump into the room, but a jump from the skinny bridge is probably easier. And that's about it for the star. Absolutely the definition of filler that makes the first 2 stars and the first half of the last star feel even worse. If Mario 64 was structured like Odyssey, this would not be a problem since you could collect the stars all in one go, but forcing the climb up 3.5 times is pretty absurd. But again, in isolation, this star is solid, so I don't think it belongs below B tier. It's just a combination of repetition that really hurts this stage. Star number 6, Blast to the Lonely Mushroom. This is likely to be the first star players actually notice in the level, as it's hovering over a mushroom platform near the start. Problem is, that mushroom platform is quite far away, so a simple jump won't be able to reach it. Luckily, this is a mountain, so you can technically jump to the mushroom if you want, you'll just need to do so from a higher point. While you can definitely just long jump down, I personally like using the Fly Guy twirl as it lets you ease your way in. Those are definitely the simplest methods, but if you're an insane person, you could also try to use the bouncy box at the bottom of the mountain. This is very difficult to line up though. Now, believe it or not, none of those are actually the main method of collecting this star. While walking past the red coin mushrooms, you may be able to see a cannon hole below the main platform. If you not only manage to find a way down there, but also the pink Bob-omb to open the cannon, you can use it to shoot toward the mushroom. The pink Bob-omb is in a pretty sneaky spot though, hiding on a very small ledge near the first monkey. I think that's pretty perfect, as it feels just hidden enough to be challenging, but not unrealistic to actually find. Getting down to the cannon though may be more difficult, as it requires either a scary jump or a hidden teleport on the smallest mushroom. There's no tell that the mushroom would actually do that, but it is fun to find. If Mario then carefully shimmies on this minuscule ledge, he'll get faced with the most difficult part of the star, actually making the shot. It can be tricky to aim as you have to take gravity into account, and if you miss the star, you'll be flying right into the void. You have to aim a lot higher than it actually seems, which I'm sure trips up a lot of people. But if you do successfully make the cannon shot, you can collect the star. While it is kinda cool how much hidden stuff has to be found for the cannon, it's really not hard at all to just long jump over to the star. In fact, it's probably much easier to think that you have to long jump to the star than it is to find all of the secret components for the cannon. So at that point, the star is just a pretty simple long jump. It definitely feels fun to make, but it's hard to call it super notable. So I'll give this star the top of B tier. At the very least, it is more unique than the top of the mountain trio. Star number 7, 100 coins. Just like every other main stage, Tall Tall Mountain will give the player a star for collecting 100 coins. Within the stage, you'll be able to find 137 coins, which gives a comfortable amount of leeway. At least, it should've. To find these coins, you'll have to explore all around the course. Now I could dock some points for this basically requiring another mountain climb, but since the 100 coin star doesn't kick you out of the stage, I don't have a problem with it. I do, however, have a problem with the coins themselves. While there are 137 coins total, this includes the coins found within the stage's slide. If you try and collect 100 coins on just the mountain alone, you'll come up a bit short. This forces the player to take the slide no matter what, which may not seem so bad until you realize that collecting the 100 coin star on the slide is a nightmare. 100 coin stars aren't given to Mario when he collects the required coins. Instead, it just spawns above his head and he still needs to jump and grab it. If this were to happen on the slide, due to how fast you're moving, it is incredibly hard to jump for the star. What makes this even worse is that you can't go back for it. Even if you complete the slide and re-enter it, the star will just despawn. Now to get around this issue, you could just start with the slide instead, but since the entrance is at the top of the mountain, that would basically require you to do a filler mountain climb, and then another climb on top of that to get the remaining coins. coins. In my opinion, Nintendo should have either let Mario automatically collect the star, or just have over 100 coins in the course itself. As it is now, this star is incredibly flawed, and I can imagine many people lost it due to it spawning on the slide. So I think that makes this easily the stage's worst star, even though I do generally like 100 coin missions. I will at least give it credit for allowing us to exit the slide once we go inside, because other stages like Lethal Lava Land and Shifting Sandland lock the player into their sub-areas, which can make the 100 coin star more obnoxious. So for this, I think I'm gonna have to give it a C tier. Honestly, it was pretty close to an F tier, but I do at least have fun going down the slides, so that gave it a bit of extra points. But after completing our star tier list, I hope it's pretty obvious why Tall Mountain is so mediocre to me. While there are no completely awful stars, pretty much every star here steps on each other's toes to make them all seem worse. Most of the gameplay for each of these is the exact same climb, and while I do appreciate having a couple alternate routes, there's only so much mixing up we can do. And remember, I've been talking about these climbs like every player is completing them on the first try. If someone struggles a lot, that adds way more unnecessary and repetitive climbing. Not that the climb up is necessarily unfun, it's just really stale by the time you complete the stage. The red coins and slide are certainly cool, but not quite enough to save the stage for me, especially with how many new issues the slide brings to the stage along with it. So where am I placing Tall Mountain on the Mario 64 level by level tier list? See that completely open C tier? Perfect. But anyways, that's it for this video. Do you love blue coin switches and hate TTM for not having one? Let me know in the comments. I kinda surprised myself with how much I had to say on this stage, so hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Unfortunately, my winter break is gonna be wrapping up soon, so I'm not fully sure if I can get back to weekly uploads, but I'm gonna keep trying. If you all have any shorter video ideas, always feel free to let me know in the comments. But before I go, I've gotta thank my members, being Raven X Scarf, Peanut Brown of Gallery, Fredbear's Diner, Gorpasaurus, Extreme 5026, BFDI Macaron, The Ender Kirby, Maidzio2, Stephen Hafner, Mikey711, Bell Slimes, Night Vision 101 PDX, Wilbur, Knight, Jenny, Triple Double, Bleep3454, Mogo Boat, Stuffy Ant, Rich229, Jehojim, Linhard von Hevering, Magnus and Larslot, Trifector, Tibby, Mario Master 101, Hippopotamus, Levi Strux, Nuclear, Cassie Channel, Blessed Tiger, Yanni the Duck, Wyatt Derpy, Trader Mo, Mevins 2001, Display Changer, SMA, B Major 2003, Sir Musty, Belandor, Cinder CC, Jade Avery, Thicky Reiki, Ingenio TM, CW McCain, Tesseract, JubeTube, Jameson Pageson, Z Frost Keep, and Christian Flattery Sequel Edition. But anyways, dry bones for Smash, and I'll see you guys next time.